Hi, welcome to the Linux channel. See, if you are using a FreeNAS or in this case TrueNAS for a while, some or other time, if your boot drive is smaller in size, you may encounter an alert which says that your boot volume has no more space left and stuff like that. See, currently I'm not getting it. As you see here, it's just not related to that. I've done recently some scrub cycles. As you see here, it has finished and I didn't got any error, so it's just not about that. But I got sometime a while ago, around 6 months or so, sometime earlier last year. Okay, so then I was confused. I thought maybe it's a time I need to upgrade my boot drive. The one which I'm using is a micro SD card in a small card reader, and I put a surgical tape around. I just use that as my boot volume. So what happens is, you can see here storage and disks. If I show, in the case of boot volume, it shows around, you can see there, it's around 16 GB or something like that, but currently it shows as 14.73 as the full size. But if you go to the system, see, in case if you get that error, then you can easily rectify this. So you can go to the system and boot. You will get this boot environments. See, these boot environments are similar to the way Linux, say for instance Ubuntu or Fedora or RHEL, if you install, it will tend to keep or retain those old kernels, so that if in case the newer kernel have any bugs, you can go back and then start booting your system or server of previous kernels and get it up and working, because anytime you install a new kernel, we never know what will happen. So same thing applies for FreeBSD as well. As you see here, it has these boot environments which are quite older than the one which is currently running, and it keeps them so that if anything happens, we can boot from a older boot environment and mount ZFS pool or your storage backup, and then anyway it can mount it, and you can make the system usable, and it can load the configuration of TrueNAS. Hence, it doesn't matter which boot environment you use, more or less your server is going to be useful or usable, to be more precise. So this you can do during startup. Since I have not hooked my monitor, keyboard, mouse directly on the server, I'm just doing UI access, I can't do that. But if you connect them directly, and while it is booting, if you happen to choose an older boot environment, you can boot from there, and then you can boot your system. So this is quite common in any Linux system as we use, but the similar stuff is being provided in the case of FreeNAS based FreeBSD based, because the operating system is FreeBSD, so FreeBSD based TrueNAS as well. Hence you can see there the current one, you can check in the dashboard. You see there it is 12.0 U8.1, and if you go back here, system boot, it should be this 12.0 U8-1. So this is the current boot environment, and you can see there the older ones are there, and you can see there the disk usage as well. So for this it has consumed 1.18, 1.2, 1.2, 1.23, 2.52 or something like that. So if you include all this things, you can very well guess, if I leave it as it is, down the lane in another 5-6 months, it is going to show that alert once again and it is going to pop up over here. So in that case, you never need to do any upgrade, you never need to buy any new boot drive, SSD, USB card, USB drive, whatever it is. You can just go and you can possibly delete the most older ones, and then you can start freeing up your disk space. So since I have done this in the past, I can confidently tell that this you can just do and it just works fine. Okay, so what we do is, as a demo in this episode, I can go ahead and delete this one. I don't want to delete the rest of the ones. See, I have U8 two variants and then U7 as well. This is quite old. As you see here, the timestamp is 2021 November of 19, and the other one is 2021 December of 15, and the other one the -U8 is on February 5th, and this one U8.1 is a quite new iteration, which is April of 16th. So it is just last month release. So I can go back, I can go ahead and delete this much older one, and I can just do this delete, and if you do that it will free up the disk space as well. So you do that and it will free up that disk space. Okay, close, and you can see there now there are less boot environments and less things to deal with. So somewhat like this I can perhaps show in the case of Linux. If you notice, let's say I boot this Ubuntu server, it needs some VM router like this pfSense router. I can boot and show you, like in the case of Linux, what happens. So I of course find many users of TrueNAS. Usually they tend to use Windows, and they are also new to Unix or Linux flavored distributions. Hence perhaps I can show quickly that how things work here. So this is booted and I need to boot another router. Yeah, and then I can boot say this desktop. This is a Ubuntu, which is actually Ubuntu LXD based desktop. So I can boot this, and while it is booting in the BIOS, after the BIOS, okay, if it is enabled, I can actually choose its the kernel version. Since it is not allowing me, I need to enable that to show that options, because in the grub you can enable it if you want. So these days generally they don't do that, hence it is not showing. Irrespective of me pressing these arrow keys, it just booted in the operating system. So let me try with a different one. In case if I have done that, then it will show me that boot screen. So let me try with this one of the servers. Let me do with something like this and see if it shows up. Yeah, even this one it is not showing up. It just booted. It's just trying to boot directly. Okay, so in that case sometimes we can just enable it over here. So since it is Ubuntu, it will have a grub bootloader. I can go ahead and I can enable, and I can show you same way is this concept in FreeBSD as well. So I can just do that, and you can do uname -a, and you can do dpkg --list. So what I'm showing is in the case of Linux. So I'm trying to explain similar thing happens in FreeBSD as well. So you can do that grep Linux, and you can see that there are two kernels available, 5.11.0.46 and 5.11.0.49, and currently the booted kernel is 49 iteration. It's the 49th iteration of 5.11.0 kernel of Ubuntu. Okay, so I want when it is booting, I want that pause to happen. So I can try going to this etc. I can go to this default and sudo vim grub, something like that, and I can try to enable. See, this timeout is 0. I can make this as 10 or something like that, so that it will stop, and it is going to show some sort of a splash screen. Okay, so update grub to let me do that as a sudo user. See, I'm not any extensive FreeBSD user. If that is the case, I could have shown something like this in TrueNAS as well. So I thought, let me just give this as an analogy. So sudo reboot. So let's just do a reboot, and now it's going to show that screen possibly. No, it's not done. Possibly I'll be missing something, or something like that, but generally this is something I quite often do with Linux distributions. So anyway, same way, you can do that. And I still recommend, if you have a larger SSD boot drive, you can keep somewhat like 6 to 7 boot environments in handy, because if there is any big bugs you encounter in recent versions, you can still go back and start using your server, because we use a server for a production environment. Hence we don't need anything embarrassing happening, or any sort of bugs in that latest bleeding edge releases or anything like that. So it's always safe to keep couple of them. Same way, as I said, in the case of Linux as well, I generally tend to keep couple of kernels. Okay, when I don't have that specific VM in this system, but I have still in my laptops. Usually I can do that, and I can choose the kernel which I am interested in stuff. This since I do often, I do that. Here I'm not sure, and I don't want to waste your time by sitting and debugging. So usually it does. If it does, then you can choose the kernel which you want. Same way in the FreeBSD, you can do the same thing while it is booting, provided you connect the keyboard, mouse, and your monitor to that server actually. So you can see there now it is far lesser, and if in case it is still getting added up, let's say in the month of June it installs a new version, and also we can understand that 13.0 is in the development stages. In case if it gets released, perhaps I can upgrade. And sometimes it is irreversible, because it also prompts you to upgrade your ZFS pools as well. In that case it is irreversible. The moment you install the 13 version, you can't seamlessly use the previous one and mounting your same ZFS pools, most probably. Okay, this is just a guess, because I never done that. Okay, but if that is the case, again it won't be of any use. In that case, you can go ahead and delete the previous ones. Of course, you can take always a backup of your stored files in your NAS storage actually. So you can do that, and we can safely try rebooting and see that if it all works fine, and hope nothing have happened. It will be nice if they show in this UI some sort of disk space availability for the boot pool as well. So it shows only these other pools, not the boot pool. If they show that, it will be quite useful, because we will kind of know how much is available versus how much is being used. Okay, so since it is not there, I got suddenly an alert and I don't know what to do. Okay, so I was quite shocked, and then I regretted myself installing this whole thing on a small 16 GB micro SD card. And later I come to know, okay, we can anyway free up this space by deleting that old boot pools. So let's just go do a quick restart, and we come back and we see that it all works fine. So we are back now, and as you see here, it's just booted fine. And let's just log in and check system boot, and you can see there those boot environments are intact, and it just boots fine. Okay, so that is sorted out. I just discovered I still have one of the VMs which I can show actually the demo of kernel selection, because this I have done some custom kernel compile and I must have enabled. So let me check if it is still there. If not, we can just ignore. Yeah, even this one doesn't have that grub wait time, so it is still fine. It's just quickly booting. So as I said, I don't have it in this system. If otherwise I could have showed something like that. Yeah. So anyway, hope this video is helpful. It is quite I feel it is also quite common. I can check say TrueNAS boot volume full alert. Yeah, my boot volume is almost full, so something like that. Okay, alert FreeNAS boot capacity volume, how to free up the space. So you can get various things like that. But in my case, luckily when it came, I was just finding out the options, because why suddenly it should fill up. Okay, it should have either some stray stuff, or it has not cleared up of some previous install. So I was just randomly finding out, and luckily I figured out. But possibly you may get the same help online as well. But you can see there it is quite common, and many users get this type of error. And you can see that this has been discussed quite a while ago, hence it may be causing in their FreeNAS system, which is the older TrueNAS, right? So what I am interested is the alert also pops up in a weird way. Let's see if we have any screenshot of that alert. Yeah, critical error, boot volume state degraded. No, this is not the one. Suddenly full increasing. Or let me type as FreeNAS, or maybe TrueNAS boot volume capacity alert, and let me highlight this. Hopefully some image or screenshot we can find out. Yeah, I'm not finding any, but it's quite a common error you may get if you have the server for few years, and it depends on your, of course, your boot drive capacity. Okay, so some or other time you may get that sort of an issue, right? So hope this video is helpful. If you have anything to discuss, or if you find any other issues in TrueNAS, you can reach me via mail, or LinkedIn, or WhatsApp, or YouTube comments. This is almost like 7th or 8th year I'm using this. I think 5 years or so. It's not 7 years. I think 5 years or 6 years I'm using the same build and same install. It is working seamless, and I started with old version, and then from the time I keep upgrading the OS, and it is still working fine. So I have quite a long learning curve. So perhaps if you are in a panic, you don't know where to share, where to discuss, you can directly reach me along with putting your queries in the official discussion forums as well. I'm also sometimes connected to the IX systems. I do know the guys as well. So if you have any issues, don't panic, you can freely discuss with me. So hope you like this video. Thanks a lot for joining. Stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.